Great morning, great morning, great morning. I am Nicole D. Jones, and I am just happy and grateful for another day. I'm happy and grateful for life. I don't take days for granted. I don't take life for granted. I don't take you for granted. I'm happy and grateful for you. I want to remind you that you are healthy, you are wealthy, you are, look, prosperous. Everything your hands go to touch, it must, it shall, and it will manifest, prosper, and grow great things because you are great. Okay? You were created, designed, strategically created and designed for a purpose. Your purpose is fulfilled through this journey so that when you go to your final destiny, you go empty. All right? That is the whole, like, your creation of you. We can't even describe in words how phenomenal we are. All right. And that's not being arrogant. Why? We are being the best versions of us unapologetically. We do it in a posture of submission and humility. We do it as our number one fan. We do it as our number one cheerleader. We're not arrogant. We're not proud. We are here as humble as we can be to Jehovah God. So because of that, I celebrate you this morning. All right. Listen, we're going through the whole relational intelligence. And this morning, if I titled it, it would be You Are Your Number One Fan. I am my number one fan. We have learned how to put people in the right places. We're now learning to categorize. We're understanding one category isn't better than the other. When you categorize people, it is, what is this? Lateral? Whatever, left to right. It goes across, okay? One person is not greater than the other, but it is imperative that you put people in the right places and in the right spaces so that you're able to maneuver and find your way for you. It's not about the people, it's all about you. Everything you do is to be the best version of you because we're learning to be a good steward of our own soul. I can't steward someone else's soul. I can only steward mine. Whew. All right. So this week, we put people in the right places. We're learning how to self-reflect. We're learning how to make it about us, not about people. We're learning how to walk in a place where we're not judging other people and we're not condemning ourselves. Okay. Let me get this very clear to you, make it clear to you, excuse me. When you start reflecting over your life and you see the hiccups and the bumps and the bruises, this is not to condemn you. It is for you to learn how to count it all joy, every trial and tribulation, because as you continue to walk out your purpose, you understand that the trials and the tribulations, it perfects you. It perfects you in a place of patience. It perfects you in a place of tenacity. It perfects you in a place of pursuit. So we're going to let it have its way. Man, that ain't even what I'm trying. Yes, it is. This is what I'm talking about. Because now that we're aligning and now that we're able to see ourselves and we're able to look at ourselves and we're able to align things and adjust things and understand that even while we're having to make the alignments and the adjustments, that is uncomfortable. This week, I want you to focus on being your own advocate, being your number one fan, being your own cheerleader. We've got to get to a place where we understand that advocating for ourselves is not selfish, it's necessary. All right. If you're responsible for being a good steward over your own soul, then you've got to know that you've got to be your advocate. You've got to be your number one fan. You've got to believe in you most. Because this is the thing. When we get to a place where we can believe in ourselves, we don't have to ride off of someone else's coattails or someone else's thoughts or beliefs. Let me get into my notes because that ain't what I'm listen. The word advocate is often used to describe the activity of supporting another person or cause. But with relational intelligence, people also advocate for themselves. It's important, it's appropriate, and it's biblical to advocate for yourself. Let me say that again. It's important, it's appropriate, and it's biblical to advocate for yourself. Now, some people will think that that's selfish, but you got to understand, if you look at scripture, if you go to scripture, Jesus advocated for himself. So if we're supposed to be like Christ, then he left that legacy, he left that example for us to know that we have to advocate for ourselves, all right? Jesus was both assertive and proactive when exercising his right of stewarding his life well, okay? So you got to be okay being assertive and proactive while you're advocating for yourself. What does that mean? First one, I want you to know, because see, I keep telling you, you know, your responsibility is being a good steward over your own soul, all right? Avocation is not being selfish, it's being a steward, all right? Stewardship. What is stewardship? Stewardship is what you have to, what you're responsible for, okay? What you're a good steward. If it's an outcome that you're looking for, this is my definition. I have to pull out the Webster. But here's the thing. Stewardship, if you're looking for something, how you act and how you treat something, how you steward it, how you handle it will determine the outcome. You want wealth financially, be a good steward over your finances. What does that mean? Have self-control with your money. Be willing to set goals, all right? And then accomplish them. So listen to this. Again, I keep telling you, stewardship, it's what we are required to do for ourselves, okay? It's what we're required to do for ourselves. So this is the thing. You got to be careful not to confuse a sacrificial life, you giving sacrifices selflessly, to a self-sabotaging life. All right? This is what I mean. You've got to make sure, okay, so let's think about one thing that the Bible said, like, oh Lord, what did he say? About your neighbor. Love your neighbor as you love yourself, right? So the first thing we think about, we look at that literally, okay? We look at it literally. So we're like, okay, well, let me cut my neighbor's yard. Let me take in their groceries when they come home. This is a self-sacrifice because I want to love my neighbor like I love myself. I want to love my neighbor like I want to be loved, all right? So we do this sacrifice for our neighbor. Then when we don't get it back, we're bitter, we're resentful. We do it with this expectation, okay? Then we start talking crazy, acting crazy, doing crazy things. This is what I mean by being careful in understanding what is required or commanded of us from Jehovah God in self-sacrificing versus self-sabotaging, all right? When you are doing a sacrifice, because God commands us to do that, you know, less of us, more of the Holy Spirit. There are self-sacrifices that we do through this journey, okay? But you got to be careful that you're doing them in the way that you're supposed to do them, because the point of the whole love thy neighbor as you love yourself is for you to understand a inner posture, all right? He wants you to get the imagery of what you have of yourself so that it radiates out and you're able to treat and love your neighbor the way you love you. If you love yourself correctly, respectfully, courteously, then you will be respectful, loving, and courteous to your neighbor. Does that make sense? I hope it does, all right? So listen to this. The word stewardship is often referenced to managing financial resources, all right? It isn't necessarily incorrect in the word, but it's incomplete, all right? Stewardship is about properly managing resources But we have to remember that all our resources are not financial. All right. So when we're learning to be a good steward over our soul, then you got to understand that you're being a good steward over resources. Okay. We have so many resources that listen, the people that you allow in your circle are human resources. They're human resources. All right. The time that we're given through the day, it's a resource. It's a resource. It's a resource of time. So this is the thing. Listen to this. The reason you have to learn to be a good steward of your soul, you got to learn how to do inventory, because we're learning to be a good steward. So when we think of the human resources, the resources of a human, are we stewarding them well? Okay. Are we taking time to understand who we're allowing in our environment, what they take from us? Are we stewarding the time that we're spending with people? With stewardship, with self-stewardship, you have to be willing to be able to take responsibility for using all the resources at our disposal in the way that advances God's agenda for your life. Now, here's the thing. If we believe, because at this point, if you've been listening to me, then you know that your life is predestined and preordained. Even if you don't believe it for yourself, believe it for me. All right. I believe that every day my life is already predestined, preordained, it's pre-written. Okay. Every day of it, it's already done. It's a fixed fight and I already win. All right. So my job in being a good steward over my soul is to be intentional, to stay in the footsteps that I know don't surprise God. Things that happen may surprise me, but they don't surprise God because he already knows. So check this out. If we believe that, we got to be willing to take responsibility of all the resources. We got to be willing to take responsibility of the time that we have through the day. We got to be willing to take responsibility of the time that we spend with people. We've got to learn how to be a good steward, because if we don't, we put our destiny in someone else's hands. We put our destiny in time that we're wasting. Are we wasting this journey? Are we growing and progressing in this journey? Listen, you're the only one responsible for God's agenda for your life. All right? You're the only one responsible for stewardship over your soul. So why do I say this? You're the only one that's held accountable. So you've got to learn how to make wise decisions for yourself. You've got to learn self-stewardship. It begins when you understand I'm responsible for me. When you understand I'm responsible for me, you'll begin to understand I have to speak for me. I have to advocate for me. I have to believe in me. I have to be my number one fan. I have to be my number one cheerleader. I have to take ownership of my life. You know, one thing we can't get away from is time. So, and I say it all the time, I don't want to learn time management. I want to learn self-management. People have gotten wealthy off of, planners and journals on time management. But I beg to differ, because time it just is what it is. It is. All right. There's 24 hours in our day. There's 60 minutes in an hour. There's, whatever, 60 seconds in a minute. There's nothing you can do to change that. But it is your responsibility to manage yourself in the time you're given. Okay? It's your responsibility. When you're not a good steward over your time, What I think we fail to understand is we fumble our own ball. Those of you, and well, now I ain't gonna talk about you, I'm gonna talk about me. I've had to learn that my good intentions, they don't give me marks in my journey. They may be paving the road to hell. If you feel overwhelmed and you just don't have enough time in your day to finish what you need to finish, brother, sister, no, sir, no, ma'am. Somewhere we're not stewarding our time correctly. Somewhere we've picked up something in our agenda versus our pre-planned agenda. And there's somewhere where we're forfeiting something that may hurt us or the person that we're doing it with. All right? And this is the kicker. When we do that, we lean to our own understanding. We lean to our own ability. You do realize that you only have capacity for what you are. This is my capacity. All blank pounds, because I ain't telling y'all how much I weigh. All my roundness, my height, my width, depth, all of that, this is my capacity. When we start trying to do things in our own, we limit the capacity of Jehovah God. Yeah, I went there. Listen, this it's not deep, it's simple. Okay? Because all of us believe that we're spirit with a soul wrapped in flesh. I'm not asking you about your religion. I'm talking about your relationship. I'm talking about us understanding that we are dual citizens. I'm talking about understanding that there is a spiritual with a soul that we have in this flesh. I'm talking about understanding that kingship, kingdom, we're kingdom first before we're U.S. citizens or whatever citizenship of whatever part of the world that you are. Okay? So when we start taking self-stewardship like it's nothing, we're doing an injustice to ourselves and everything that's connected to us. All right? Listen. Man, I'm all over the place. Let me see. Self-stewardship begins with the understanding I'm responsible for me. So you got to advocate. What does that look like? What does that mean? You got to start looking at it and understanding that if you do not start advocating for yourself, setting boundaries for yourself, standing on them, all right? You could be jeopardizing a part of your journey. You could be jeopardizing your blessings. You could be jeopardizing being a blessing. If I'm supposed to go over here and bless one person, but I'm in myself doing something over here, I miss the blessing, they miss the blessing, and somebody just, I don't know. I don't know what happens over there. Someone got a ride? I don't know. Okay? But is there fruit that comes from that? Because you may have given someone a ride somewhere that put them in harm's way. Okay? So we got to be careful. All right? And this is the thing. I'm not saying these things to make it seem like we got to walk through this journey on eggshells. No, that's not what I'm saying. But I do believe that we have to be intentional of ourselves. I do believe that we have to be intentional to love ourselves. I do believe that we have to be intentional with our relationship with the Creator. Okay? Listen. When you get to this place, it frees us from the illusion that our welfare and well-being are connected to someone else's behavior. A lot of us have a lot of people that are in our life. They're an advisor or there's someone that we look up to, and we will hold on to every word that they say. Hmm. But you do realize that that's not self-management. That's not stewardship of our soul. We recognize, see, this is why it's so important to have people in the right buckets, in the right places, because an advisor, a mentor, that's someone placed in your life to advise and mentor you. Okay? You have to test every spirit by the spirit because we're all spirit. And because we're human, we talk to one another. We give wise counsel. We give instruction. We give these different things. We give the layout. But at the end of the day, we got to know that this is the advisor or the mentor in our life because we take the blueprint of what they say because it's safe. We believe it. But if I'm supposed to go check the mail, so I'm supposed to, and I'm giving instruction, go out the door, make a right, walk on the sidewalk, take 20 steps, get to the mailbox, pull it down, pull the mail out, put it back, walk back in this direction, come back, right? That's instruction of my advisor. But it's hot outside. So I go out here, I get to my door. Instead of walking all the way on the cement, I cut through the grass because it's my yard. All right. I'm not walking on someone else's grass. I'm walking on my grass. I get to the mailbox, I pull it down, I get the mail, I put it back up, I walk back, I run through the grass because it's super hot at this point. I didn't even go on the cement and I come back. Did I not listen to my mentor? I did. But maybe every step was not the step I took, but I didn't miss a step. I hope that makes sense to y'all. All right. We got to be careful because, especially if you have someone that you have influence in their life, you can't give someone instruction and then be mad if they don't listen. Okay. But being a good steward of your soul, you got to know who's instructing you. You got to trust that their goal is what is purposed in your life. You got to find your way, but you don't lose the agenda. You don't lose the outline. You don't over teach or outthink someone who is there to teach you. You stay the student. Okay? But this is why you got to be a good steward over your soul. Because if you're not careful to know you and know your boundaries and know where it goes for you, that person can begin to control you versus influence you. See, this is the reason why it's so important for you to be a good steward over your soul. You got to know you over it all. You got to know you the best, all right? But you got to know to keep people in the right place, in the right perspective. Okay. I hope that makes sense. Last thing I want to tell you, time is the currency we must be willing to exchange for desired results. Okay. So it goes back to that. This is why we got to learn how to we got to strategically learn how to steward our time. Okay. This is why you need to do brain docs. This is why it's important to know the difference between influence and control. Because as you're listening to mentorship, as you're writing out the blueprint of your life, as you're doing these different things, you got to be a good steward over your soul so that when you write your to-do list, when you brain dump the night before to get all these things out of your head that you need to do, you've got to be a good steward over your time. Okay? You don't manage time. Time is what it is. You steward yourself so you're able to put these lines and these boundaries, okay? So that you're able to allot the time that you need to do what you need to. And your goal as you're growing is to line your days up with what's predestined. How do you know when you're not doing it? When you overwhelmed, when you murmuring and complaining while you doing it. when it starts to get heavy. When you start learning your soul and yourself, when the spirit starts tapping you, you got to be willing to fall back and just readjust and realign. That's the progression. God's not looking for us to be perfect, but he's looking for progress. He's looking for pursuit. Okay? That makes sense? If we don't do it, it's like we're regifting. We're regifting the gift from God of our self-control. We just giving it away. Do you know you do know you have a gift of self-control given to you by Jehovah God? When we don't know how to do this, we just giving our gift to someone else. And then we waiting there, waiting for them to tell us what to do. And then we mad at them. No, be mad at you. Okay? Because you're responsible for you. What time is it? 10:27. Anyone got anything they want to share? I'm going to stop right there. Oh, I forgot. I'm looking at the chat. Oh, Lord. Where'd it go? Jaden, y'all, the boy done logged me out. Let me see. Jacinta, is anything in the chat I need to respond to? Y'all can unmute yourself.
No, I was just typing some of the points that you said, but there's no.
Okay, good. So we are our best cheerleaders. What we gonna focus on this week? We are number one fan. I want to believe I'm Kadeja's number one fan, but listen, she's her number one fan. I'm number two. But we gotta learn how to be our own cheerleader. Be your number one fan. Learn how to advocate for yourself. We're not doing it selfishly. We're doing it in love. We're doing it in humility. We're doing it because we want to fulfill our purpose. We want to go through this journey with peace as our compass. We want to have joy. We want to live in the fruits of the Spirit. But ultimately, we want to live fulfilled. Okay? We want a full life, a full journey. Okay? Because this is going to end. So we want everything. All right? So we want when it get a little rough and shaky, that it's still joyful. You can have joy in storms. I told y'all before, we got to learn how to dance in the rain.
Can you take that? I left a thing in the freezer.
That's Miss Amber. Amber, can you mute yourself, baby?
Oh.
Go check the freezer, y'all. So listen, we got to learn how, because it is our portion. All right? It's our portion. God never created us to be heavy laid. Okay? Trials come. There's mountains and there's valleys. But at the end of the day, it's still our best. We are learning to be the best version of us unapologetically through a posture of submission and humility, never arrogance and pride, so that we can not only give out what we are created to do, purpose to do, but that we're also in a posture where we can receive everything that is due unto us, because Jehovah God hasn't forgot about us either, all right? So this week, I want you to work on that, set your boundaries, learn that you can stand on them and respectfully, and people will respect them as you respect yourself. So stay focused, stay humble, stay positive. Continue to be the best version of you unapologetically, because you're relevant, you're necessary, you're needed, and no one can do it better than you. All right? I want you to continue to have a fantabulous rest of the day. Smooches.